Hello and welcome to Kickoff with Casey. My name is Casey Patrick, and we got plenty of college football to get into. We're going to start with the big news from last week. Penn State dropped their third game in a row. That got James Franklin fired. He's out of town. We're going to talk about the short list of candidates for that job. Also, Indiana takes down Oregon 30-20. A really good football game. Kurt Cignetti, he said, "Google me, I win," and he's right. Texas smokes Oklahoma. The Longhorns are back in the top 25. This is the beginning of what feels like Arch's redemption story. And then Auburn, screwed by refs again. And even I could not stop Georgia with my lock of the week curse. All that and more coming up. Now, we're going to start with the Penn State game. They lost to Northwestern 22-21. It really was not a good game. I don't think at all for Penn State, and I didn't get to see much of it. I didn't think much of it because you kind of just expect Penn State to win that game. I know I've talked a lot about James Franklin and his struggles against other top-tier teams, but against the lower teams, he's been really consistent, really good. So it's actually kind of surprising that they dropped that one, but I think it was time, and most Nittany Lion fans would agree. I think the whole James Franklin thing had kind of run its course. Now, as far as when you talk about potential candidates for the job, Penn State is one of the biggest programs in America, and I think they're going to get a lot of interest as far as head coaches, potential head coaches. And I wrote down a few, and I really don't believe a lot of these. For instance, we'll start with Mike Elko. Mike Elko is one of the names that I saw pop up. He doesn't have any ties to Penn State from what I could find. I might be wrong there. Maybe I don't know. Maybe Mike Elko played there or coached there a long time ago. I don't know that. But I couldn't find a tie-in for Mike Elko. So that kind of felt like almost a lateral move. I mean, Elko has Texas A&M ranked in the top 10. I think they're 4th or 5th now. And, I mean, he's making pretty good money. Texas likes to pay their coaches, so I believe Elko's going to leave. Another name, a guy that is at the top of a lot of these lists, is Matt Rule. And again, I think Penn State is a better job than Nebraska. Don't get me wrong. But Nebraska, they're willing to pay. They remember how good the 90s were, and they want to get back to that. Is Matt Rule the guy that can get them there? I don't know. Not really my problem, but I really don't know if he can do it or not. When he was coming up at Temple, I think me and everybody else thought that this guy was the next big thing in college football. But I think it just cooled off just a little bit. I think he's doing a great job at Nebraska. They've been recruiting better. They're winning more games. I think he had them ranked last week. Maybe they're still ranked this week. Either way, or maybe they're ranked going into this week. But I don't feel like Matt Rule is going to leave Nebraska for Penn State. I could be wrong. If I'm wrong, again, I'll bring it up on the show. But here's a name that I'm very interested in, and we're going to talk about him a lot today, Kurt Cignetti. Kurt Cignetti might be the guy. Now, I don't know if he's Penn State's guy. I'm scared to death Alabama was going to call him. I thought Alabama was going to fall apart after that first loss to Florida State and then make a call for Kurt Cignetti, and that scared me. It really did. But will Cignetti stay at Indiana? He said last year they asked him after the playoff loss, or maybe it was before the playoff game, they said, are you interested in any of these other candidacies? And he said, why would I be? We're building a superpower here. And he's right. He's right. The Hoosiers are good. They're really good. They took down Oregon 30-20 last week, and that is something that we will also get into. I could see Cignetti leaving. Now, I don't know if he leaves Indiana to go to Penn State. And it's kind of weird for me to sit back and look at it, but I do think Nebraska is a bigger and better job than Indiana. Maybe I'm wrong there. Hoosier fans are going to be mad about that. That's a basketball school, all right? In Nebraska, I mean, they have girls volleyball, and they take that very serious. They pack out 85, 90,000 people for volleyball games. But other than that, football's king. Indiana, football's not king. It hasn't been, ever. There's a movie named Hoosiers. That's how big basketball is to them. So I could see Curt Cignetti leaving for Penn State. There may be some other places, maybe Florida. God, please don't go to Florida. But I think Cignetti could be one of the guys. Matt Campbell seems like the top up-and-coming, younger guy. He's been at Iowa State for a long time. They lost this past weekend, and it might be because he's got his mind on some other things. I don't know. I don't want to speculate. I just make a joke there. But Matt Campbell seems like the next guy to really maybe get the next big offer. Because, Cignetti got a pretty good offer. He's at Indiana. I don't know if he's making crazy money. I don't know what money he's making, but that's a decent job. Iowa State, they're not even the biggest brand in that state. I think Campbell, he knows he's going to have to make some sort of a move if he wants to win more. It's just hard to recruit kids to Iowa State, and I get that. One of the other names that come up, and I'm going to run through these pretty quick, Dan Mullen. I saw his name on the list of candidates. If Penn State hires Dan Mullen, that would be hilarious. I don't think he's good at all. He will not recruit. He refuses to recruit. Maybe kids will just show up in Penn State for him. Manny Diaz is a name that popped up. I don't think he's been crazy good at Duke. He's had them playing a lot better than previous years, but I mean, I think that's where – was that where Elko was at? Either way, Diaz had a pretty good situation that he got into, and he's made him a little bit better, but I don't necessarily think he's crazy. Now, here's another name I'm really interested in, and I don't know if you can get this guy to leave, but if you can, I think he's going to be a top coach before too long. Brent Key at Georgia Tech, God knows how to win. He knows how to win. Now, it helps him that he's got Haynes King at quarterback. He's got a really good defense. They play a good brand of football, but that's a guy that he could start getting his name up there. And then two more names, Fran Brown, Alex Golesh. Those are two guys that they're both going to be moving up into new jobs. Maybe Penn State, maybe not. I don't know, but that's just a short list of names. And then we're going to move on to Indiana. Again, I'm not going to talk too much about this one, but Indiana takes down Oregon. I was really high on Oregon. I'm really high on Dan Lanning. I still am. I still think Dan Lanning is one of the best coaches in the country. And I think Oregon's a good football team. But Indiana showed some gall to go in there and beat them. And here's what I wanted to bring up about this. Brandon Walker, who talks on one of the other internet sites, I don't know which one, but I saw where he called Cignetti a coward. You can call Cignetti a lot of things. Coward's not one. I mean, this is a guy that'll stand up and he said, listen, we lost today, this happened, that happened. That's what he said after the Ohio State game. But this guy gets up and he talks. He runs his mouth and he backs it up. He's the guy that said, Google me. I love the way Curt Cignetti coaches. I love the way he goes about his business. I don't think anything about him is a coward. And I'm really not sure why Brandon Walker gets a microphone stuck in front of his face. I do too. Maybe it's just as ridiculous. Who knows? Texas smokes Oklahoma. Longhorns are back in the top 25. And I wrote Arch Redemption ? Which I know I said all that in the intro. But, man, Texas looked, and I told y'all the defense there is legit. If Arch Smith, where did I get that? If Arch Manning even starts to really find a rhythm at all, you got to be scared about Texas if you have to play them, because the defense is legit. One of the top 10 teams in the country defensively. So anything on offense means they're going to be scary good, and they are. And then Auburn screwed by refs again. If you're an SEC fan, I went on this long rant last week about how bad the officials were. If you're an SEC fan, you've probably got the short end of the stick at least once or twice this year from the SEC officiating. I called them on Saturday after the Razorbacks pushed Joey Aguilar into the radio system and he broke it. I was upset about that. I was upset about a few other things, so I just went ahead and called the SEC office. I didn't cuss nobody, but I left them a strong message. But if you're an SEC fan or a fan of a team in the SEC, Your team has not been screwed more than Auburn by the officials. This is an ongoing joke now. And again, the SEC is the second biggest league of football in the world. Why can we not get this right? Why is it continuously the worst version of officiating above JV football? I've watched JV football games. They're bad. They will throw flags every other play. I know there's holding on every play in football. They've been saying that since at least the mid-'60s. I get that. You can throw a flag every play. You don't have to. Officiating, again, though, if it's a JV football game, I understand. They're doing the best they can out here. You got coaches left and right leaving high school football, so it's hard to find, referees leaving left and right. It's hard to find good referees. The SEC is the SEC. You're paying these guys a lot of money. Pay them more money to go get good guys. And it's the same people year in and year out that continue to make really, really bad calls and screw up games. Human error by people that aren't on the roster should have no effect on the game at all, and it does. Week in and week out in the SEC. Greg Sankey, I'm talking to you. Fix it. It is so bad. It's terrible. Do something about the product. Now, on to the next thing. I had like 3 or 4 lines for the short list of potential Penn State coaches, but I think what we're going to do, we're going to take our first break. Because I got to calm down after that. I'm still upset. Greg Sankey, I'm talking to you. I'm still upset about the officials. We're going to take our first break. Make sure y'all don't go anywhere. When we get back, we're going to talk a few other things real quick and, of course, have our top 25 rundown. So make sure you don't go anywhere.
He shoots, and he scores!
Got closer. All new Sportsbook, the latest gaming machines, live horse racing, and more. The Mid Gaming Hall, Kentucky Downs.
Winning just got closer.
At Delta Dental of Tennessee, we know our success begins and ends with providing superior quality service, and that includes serving those who need it most. This year, we're celebrating 25 years of giving back to the community we call home. Delta Dental, along with our Smile 180 Foundation, supports Tennessee's dental colleges and oral health education, children's hospitals, free and reduced cost dental clinics, and other like-minded charities. Here's to the next 25 plus years of ensuring healthy smiles.
All right, thanks for staying with me. Let's see. We'll go ahead and get into this. I saw this. I was just scrolling through looking for scores from last week, and just kind of noting a few things that had happened here and there. And there was a little thing that popped up, and it said, Bama, top SEC frontrunner in the CFP, by a man named Brad Crawford. I've never met Mr. Crawford, but I think Bama is the top SEC brand. I do not believe they're the best football team. Texas A&M is undefeated. Ole Miss is undefeated, and yet Brad Crawford thinks that Bama is the top SEC frontrunner for the college football playoff. At some point, we've got to stop riding this Alabama wave. Are they still good? Absolutely. Could they make it to the college football playoff? Absolutely. Are they going to beat Tennessee this Saturday? I think so. I think Alabama's better than Tennessee. Tennessee's defense is not good. That's something that we're going to talk about later as far as games coming up this week. Again, I'm not saying that Alabama isn't good. But how is it that they're always the front runner for something? I mean, I feel like anybody can just put the Alabama name on an article, you put it on the internet, you want the clicks because you know they do have a large fan base, and they're going to go, oh, look at my football team. Maybe they click on it. Maybe that's what it's about. But it's hard for me to imagine that you can put them as the front runner when they're literally not at the front. Now, do they have an unbeaten SEC record? Yes, they do. But they have a loss on their total record, which means that they wouldn't be in the front. it's just really aggravating to continue to see Bama get all the love. The AP poll does it every week. The White Hats, the Zebras do it every Saturday. Maybe I just didn't get enough sleep last night, and I want to be pretentious about it. Maybe that's what it is. If you're an Alabama fan and you don't like it, too bad. I'm tired of your team getting all the love. They are good. I get it. But they're not Nick Saban good anymore. Get over it. Here's the next thing. Florida State is confusing. They are confusing. Because they had that wonderful game one against Alabama, and Alabama, again, has gotten much better since that first game, to their credit. But Florida State has not looked the same since. Tommy Castellanos came out the gate, looked like an a Heisman front runner. And but now, I mean, I think 34-31, lost to Pittsburgh. Pat Narduzzi up at Pittsburgh, man. He's had that job for what feels like the last 3 or 4 decades. I don't know how he pulls it off every once in a while, though. He'll take down Florida State or a Clemson every once in a while. So good for them. But Florida State, man, they're confusing. And it's so weird because I've got a lot of friends that are Florida State fans. And, you know, they went from 3 weeks ago thinking that they're going to be back in the national championship to now a few of them want Norvell fired, and they're talking about Cignetti and all this other stuff. So Florida State, that whole thing could go left, it could go right. Who really knows? Let's see. Last thing that we're going to talk about before we get into the top 25 rundown. Tennessee escapes versus Arkansas. There's a few reasons for that. First of all, Tennessee's defense is, I think, worse than I really thought they were. When they get healthy, you would hope that they'd be a little bit better, you know, especially on the back. But, man, Arkansas just ran. If they would have just ran the ball every time, I think they'd probably score more points. Excuse me. The Razorbacks got in trouble when they decided to throw it. And I like Taylor Green. I think Taylor Green's a great football player, a really athletic quarterback. But, I mean, let's see. I think he threw a pick. He had another fumble. I mean, you know, 3 turnovers, at least 3 for that offense. Maybe you should just keep the ball on the ground and hand it off to the dude that's averaging 8 yards a carry. I forget his name. Mike Washington, I think, or Jr. or whatever. Talk crap all week long. He said they got holes in their defense. I'm not saying he was wrong. But as the Tennessee defense, you would think you'd go, oh, well, I'm going to make sure we lock in on that guy. Let's make sure, you know, if somebody else beats us for a player here or there, okay, but let's make sure we stop this guy. Every time he touched the ball, first down. It's nauseating as a Tennessee fan because, again, this guy just ran his mouth. Maybe it was just one interview. Maybe he wasn't really running his mouth. But the fact that he said, your defense has holes, take it personal. Don't allow those holes to be shown. And Tim Banks was just like, whatever. What we're going to do is we're going to put everybody over here. We'll just let you run this way for 12 yards. A carry. I think at one point he was just running freely up and down the sideline. The defense was not good. Tennessee got off to a little bit of a lead there. Heupel takes his foot off the gas again. I don't know why he does that, but he does it. As a Tennessee fan, it's very annoying. I understand that Tennessee won the game. I'm not complaining about the win. I'm complaining about how you win because it is important. I know that it's hard to win in the SEC. I've never coached there, and I know that it's hard to win in the SEC. But taking your foot off the gas and then just not paying attention on defense. Tim Banks just didn't listen to his interview. I don't think he watched any tape. I don't know what the defense is doing during the weeks because, again, it seems like week to week they have issues where they get worse. So Tennessee's got to go on the road to Alabama this week. If they plan to win, they got to play a lot better. Offense, again, still really good. Joey Aguilar has been levels better than I expected him to be. Kudos to that kid. He's working his way to a draft pick right now. Congratulations, young man. Way to go. Good job. And to the rest of the offense, good job. Those guys, the offensive line, a lot of guys were going in and out on the offensive line. I felt like the running backs did a good job. Braylon Staley had a great game, which is good for him because he really struggled last week against Mississippi State. So for him to have a good week to kind of get back on his feet, good for him. Chris Brazzell didn't do much, but Tennessee scored 34 points and didn't really need him. So Tennessee really did escape with a win there. But anytime you get a win in the SEC, I know it's at home. They were up 14 or 17 points with like 8 minutes to go. Should have been a little bit of a bigger difference. There's reasons for that. I've already complained and barked about it. But, again, Tennessee, when you escape with a win, you escape with a win. Now, before we go too far, I'm going to go through our real quick top 25 rundown. A lot of these games I didn't get to see very many highlights of. Long, busy weekend. Ohio State at number 1, taking down Illinois. Brett Bielema. I just like his name. 34-16 Buckeyes over the Fighting Illini. Miami had a bye. Oregon, of course, we talked about their 30-20 loss to Indiana. I'm still really, really high on Dante Moore. I think Dante Moore is one of the best quarterbacks in the country. He could be the first overall pick. I think it's between him and the Mendoza kid, Fernando Mendoza from Indiana. I think they're kind of locked for that number 1 overall pick at quarterback. But we've got a lot of college football to go through. I'd like to see Mendoza a little bit more myself. If the Titans are bad enough and get that first overall pick, I don't think it's going to be a quarterback. So maybe it's not a quarterback that goes. But regardless, we will talk more about that as the season goes on. Number 4, Ole Miss against Washington State, 24-21. I'm going to tell you something right now. The Cougars must be better than I thought they were. I kind of expected Ole Miss to run away with this game. I think the Vegas line only had it in like 12 or 13 and a half. Maybe I'm wrong about that. I might have been looking at something else. But I kind of thought Ole Miss would do a little bit better than that against Washington State. But again, we watched Penn State lose bad enough to get James Franklin fired. So when you get a W, you take the W. Texas A&M taking down Florida 34-17 again. Mike Elko has the Aggies playing well. I haven't got to see Texas A&M play much football this year, but they're on the top of they're one of the teams at the top of the SEC right now. Oklahoma 23-6, just absolutely got smashed. Texas, again, that defense, it is legit. It's been legit all year long. And now that Arch is starting to find his way, man, they score 23 points a game. I think they're going to win probably all their games. That's how good that defense is. We talked about Indiana taking down Oregon. Alabama 27-24 over Missouri. I misspelled Missouri. That's hilarious. It doesn't matter because you guys can't read it anyway. But Alabama 27-24 over Missouri. Missouri's a lot better than I expected it to be. I watched a little bit of that game. There was a part of me that felt like Alabama should start to really just pull away, and they never did. So kudos to Drinkowitz, or whatever his name is. They must be better than I really thought they were. Texas Tech and Kansas. This game was like tied or close to tied early in the game, and I really just wasn't paying much attention. And then I looked at the score later that night. Texas Tech ran away with it, 42-17 over Kansas. Georgia, 20-10 over Auburn. We're going to go. I'm not Auburn fans. I don't want to break your hearts anymore. We'll just go on to the next one. LSU 20-10 over South Carolina. South Carolina's defense still playing hard. LSU, I think they're a little bit overrated, but a win's a win. Again, in the SEC, a win is a win. Tennessee 34-31 over Arkansas. Georgia Tech 35-20 over Virginia Tech. Kind of surprised Virginia Tech scored that much against the Yellow Jackets, but neither here nor there. We talked about Missouri. Michigan almost ran out of the stadium against USC, 31-13. That got the Trojans put back in the top 25. And Mayaba, I don't know how to say their quarterback's name. Kid is solid. That's another one of those names that he's trying to work his way up into that first overall pick spot. So look out for him. Moving on to Notre Dame, taking down powerhouse North Carolina State, 36-7. We know how tough that Notre Dame schedule is. Number 17, Illinois, taking the L to OSU. 18, BYU. I think that was a double overtime game. 33-27 over Arizona. I did not see the highlights of that game. I need to go back and watch it. I bet that was fun. Virginia and Vanderbilt at 19-20, both on a bye last weekend. Arizona State falling huge to Utah, 42-10. Iowa State losing to Colorado, 24-17. Memphis also on a bye. And South Florida putting up 9 touchdowns. Alex Golesh beating North Texas 63-36. It's crazy North Texas still scored 36 points, but South Florida, they moved the ball fast. And, of course, Florida State taking the L to Pittsburgh 34-31. Make sure y'all don't go anywhere. We're going to come back and we're going to talk about this upcoming week, including my lock of the week. Should be an interesting one. Make sure you don't go anywhere.
At Delta Dental of Tennessee, we know our success begins and ends with providing superior quality service, and that includes serving those who need it most. This year, we're celebrating 25 years of giving back to the community we call home. Delta Dental, along with our Smile 180 Foundation, supports Tennessee's dental colleges and oral health education, children's hospitals, free and reduced cost dental clinics, and other like-minded charities. Here's to the next 25 plus years of ensuring healthy smiles.
He shoots, and he scores!
Just got closer. All new Sportsbook, the latest gaming machines, live horse racing, and more. The Mid Gaming Hall, Kentucky Downs.
Winning just got closer.
Welcome back. We'll start with a few Friday games. I only found 2 out of the ranked matchups anyway. Louisville at Miami, that game's at 6 p.m. And then Nebraska at Minnesota, that game's at 7 p.m. Both of those games are Friday. Saturday, this is where we've got a lot of big games coming up. LSU at Vanderbilt, that's going to be the early morning game at 11 a.m. LSU, 1.5-point favorites. We'll get to them later. A little bit of foreshadowing there. Ole Miss at Georgia. Now, I struggle with this game because I don't really know. I have no clue what's going to happen. I could see a world where either team wins by 2 touchdowns, and I could see a world where this game goes 3 overtimes. I have no clue what's going to happen. I don't know which team I dislike more, so I don't really care who wins. Newly ranked USC at Notre Dame, that's always a really fun matchup. Notre Dame is actually playing one of the tougher games on their schedule. That game's going to be at 6:30. That used to always be on Channel 4. I have no clue if it is still or not. It was always on NBC. Of course, 6:30, the other big 6:30 game, the one I'm going to be watching, Tennessee at Alabama. I think Alabama's pretty well favorited in that game. I want to say 8.5, and maybe I just made that number up. So don't go telling anybody I said that. And then the late game, another ranked matchup, Utah at BYU. That game only starts 30 minutes after the Tennessee game, and Tennessee games usually take about 6.5 hours. So I'll be up until Sunday morning watching Tennessee play. Now, on to my lock of the week. I sat here for a minute. I wrote down all the matchups, and I tried to figure out what I thought was a really good chance for a win. Now, there are a couple matchups I looked at. I think I looked at Miami a little bit. That Ole Miss-Georgia game, it scares me so much. I don't want to take either one of those teams. I almost took USC at Notre Dame out of spite just because I don't like Notre Dame. And I won't ever put Tennessee in any lock of the week. Whether win or lose, whatever, I don't care. I won't do it. But what I landed on was LSU. LSU, only 1.5-point favorites. It's an early morning game, so I don't know if Vanderbilt. I think the home teams usually get a little bit better of a home field advantage at night. Maybe I'm just imagining that, but I believe that to be true. This being an 11 o'clock game makes me feel like, I don't know, I just feel like LSU's got an opportunity to run away with this one. I think their depth is a little bit better. Diego Pavia is the best quarterback in this game, and it's by a mile. I think, as much as I don't really care for Pavia as a person, I think as an athlete, he's a much better quarterback than Garrett Nussmeier. Maybe not at the next level, but certainly at this one. I think he's a big reason why Vanderbilt is as good as they are. But overall, I don't think Vanderbilt can match LSU's depth. I think if LSU just plays good football, run the ball, control the clock, they probably win by 10, maybe 14 points. I'm about to sneeze, so before I do that and ruin the entire video, I'm going to let you boys and girls get out of here. And y'all stay safe this weekend. We're taking LSU. We're taking LSU in a 1.5. Y'all have a wonderful evening. Watch you some football on Saturday. Get back to me. We'll see y'all.